How's it going, guys? I hope you guys had a great Christmas and a great break from Arknights keep releasing non-stop content. Yes, technically speaking, there is CC, but for me personally, CC is kind of a break since I just do risk 18 and do my daily CCs and get my reward and I run, so it is kind of a break, right? So after all of that, we're finally going to get a new event with new operators and a new game mode, stationary security service, which I will talk about in a separate video, but in general I don't really like this mode, blah 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 blah. Let's talk about the operator that we really care about, and that new operator is definitely Ebenholz. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right because I don't really know how to pronounce his name, but this is our operator of contention, really. I should really say it that way because it is a very hard to explain operator, and then today I want to fully dissect him and then give you guys a straight answer of should you pull him or not. So short answer as usual is that you should definitely not pull him. Now let's talk about it in details. Here is Ebenholz. I don't really know how to pronounce it, whatever. So he is a mystic caster, just like Indigo and Iris. So you know, high base attack, 20-ish cost, and then got this weird-ish range, kind of like fast snipers, but losing the 2 tiles beside him. So this operator is definitely one of those operators where, like, you know, you charge up the 3 shots, or well, in his case, an extra shot because of this talent. We'll talk about that later. So you charge up the shot, and then ooh, a big boss comes in, I don't know, like Patriot comes in, and then you're like, ooh, whip, 1 shot. That's usually what the role of this archetype does, right? So let's talk about his talent and his skills, and I will explain exactly why you shouldn't pull him to you. First of all, let's look at his talents. Ignore the module. I will not be unlocking his module. So, Ebenholz. His first talent is that his charged energy, like I said, whenever he doesn't attack, he would charge up 1 shot of energy, right? I think most of us will know about that. So when he doesn't attack and he charges 1 energy, every single charge of that energy has increased attack to 135%. So usually it's like 1550 arc damage for normal attack. Now it's 1.35 times that. And then he can charge an extra energy to earn just for elite and boss enemies. So he can charge a total of 4 shots for bosses instead of 3. So that's the talent I was talking about. Second talent is that when the target he is attacking has no other enemies within that range, he can deal an extra 15% of attack as arch damage. Now that sounds like, oh, great, right? But if you really think about it, it is kind of it is ridiculous. How are you supposed to just control 1 boss to just go into his attack range, which is like a 3x3 right in front of him? So it is already hard to control already, and then just hit that 1 shot? That's kind of ridiculous, right? And if you can get like enemies where they only come 1 at a time, sure, but there's more. I will talk about the whole picture once we go through the skills as well. So his skills. Ebenholz's skill 1 is where usually the most simplistic and boring one, right? So he has a change in attack range, goes into a straight line, just like E0 Ifrit, of 4 tiles in front of him. His attack interval is greatly reduced by down to 17% of his usual attack interval, which is like 3 seconds. 17% of that, it's really low. So he can charge up his skills, like his energy charge, really fast, and every time he attacks can deal up to 50% of his attack as arch damage. Duration, 5 seconds. SP cost, down to 15 seconds at most. Now, this thing is really pointless because, as we all know, we want the one big shot. We don't want a lot of rapid small shots. Don't really need that. We have Help to do that. We have other operators to do that. Don't really need it. Even if you get him, don't mastery him. If you really want to, do skill 2 and 3, just like me. Now, his skill 2 is really interesting. This requires him not to attack enemy and charge up his energy. So like I said, if he doesn't attack every 3 seconds, he will just charge up energy, right? So with his second skill, he will immediately use all of the energy that he's charged up within the attack area that you can put down operators. High ground, low ground, doesn't matter. He will summon a shadow, this energy shadow clone thingy that will last 30 seconds. And the amount of shadow that he will summon is equal to the amount of energy he has charged, so he has used, plus 1. So if he has 4 energy in total, he can summon 5. Simple. If he has 0 energy, summons 1. Also really simple. This skill will automatically activate, so he will just summon whether there's enemy or not, whether if you want to or not, and then that thing will just last 30 seconds. Now, this shadow will activate when the enemy gets close to him, and then deal an AoE damage of up to 245%. So you can think of this like a W skill 2 mine, except that is 1 mine, and this is more like several, depending on how many energy he has charged. And that explosion will also pull the enemy towards the shadow. So that can be a good thing or a bad thing, because personally I have experienced that shadow just pull enemy into the blue door and just let me leak, but a lot of the times it's good control. Now, this is a really interesting skill, and actually I do enjoy using it, but even if you M3, these SP requirement would not drop, so that is why I stopped at M2. Skill 3. Skill 3 is a really strong skill if you just look at it on paper, right? Only 20 SP requirement and last 30 seconds. You will have plus 80 attack speed, plus 65% attack, and only targets elite and boss enemies, which is really, really nice. Also, his first talent, so you know where he charges energy and then every energy is counted as 135% of his normal attack, that goes to 140% instead of 130%. So on paper, this looks like, oh, a really strong skill that can just snipe out like those really strong elite enemies and bosses. Sounds good, right? Except for one thing. You realize how he requires the talent, like the talent that increases to 140%. That thing requires him to charge up energy to begin with. Now, let's say if you're fighting a boss, let's say, whatever, we'll just use Patriot as usual because Patriot is super tanky. So if he's alone, right? If he's alone and he charges up energy, Patriot comes in, no buff and whatnot, because usually you just don't buff operators just for that. Obviously you can, but let's say he charges up energy, 4 shots, and then activate skill, boom, hits a huge damage on Patriot. What else is after that? After that, every single hit that he does, you can only look at the first 2 thing from his skill. You don't look at his talent because you will no longer be charging energy. The whole talent is gone. His first talent is completely gone. The whole charging up energy thing, completely useless. And in the end, what you will get is just a meh skill that can only deal damage to elite and bosses. And then, even worse, is that you will not be able to take benefit from his talent. And you just have mediocre damage towards a boss. Now, obviously, if you only had 1 elite or 1 boss coming at a time and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna kill the elite enemies, because right, it's not only about bosses, there's also elite enemies. The nature of that skill also has a problem, is that you require 1 elite enemy to come at a time. Because in theory, right, you can say, okay, if one elite enemy comes at a time, and they come in, gets one shot by his skill, and then charge, 4 shots, charges 4 times, and then the next elite enemy comes in. That's perfect, right? But that's not how the world works. That is not how Arknights work from now and forever. Forever. Up till CN right now, we get elite, one normal enemy, and boss. Pretty, like, everything is an elite nowadays. So the strength of his skill, where he can just charge and then shoot, becomes he will just keep shooting and never charge energy. So the only time that you would really benefit from his first talent, and hence him, is the first shot. And that is not good enough. So usually you will only use his skill 2. That's why I have the default skill as skill 2. Now, combining all of that, oh sorry, Golden Glow, didn't mean to click onto you. Combining all of that, second talent, pretty garbage, you must agree, because you have to isolate one enemy, kinda hard. And like, especially nowadays when they just send like packs of enemies towards you at all times, and you're supposed to isolate one enemy and just hit that one. Pretty difficult. And then the first talent, where you will only get to use once until enemy waves actually comes in, and then everything else doesn't matter because he will just be normal attacking with his quote-unquote high attack, but like 3-second attack interval. This is why I would recommend no one to pull Ebenholz, whatever. Now, one circumstance, or several circumstances that you would actually want to pull him. First of all, you know, if you like the design, I think he looks really cool. I think he looks cool, personally. Okay. Second of all, if you read the story and you're like, okay, I want to pull him. There's 2 reasons. There's a third reason. If you're like me, and you're just like, I want all the operators. If you do pull him, I would highly recommend you to at least skill mastery his second skill, because there is only one specific use case where he is actually decent, and that is in IS3, where you get one specific collectible, then he will be good. Only one situation, only one collectible will make him good. Everything else doesn't count. So if you're after that one situation, go ahead, pull him. Oh, if you like him and you're like, oh, husbando, and then go ahead and pull him. So that's about it for this video. I know a lot of you would want to ask about Hibiscus, the purifier, in the banner. Yes, the new archetype is interesting, but a little spoiler alert, there will be a 6-star variant of that archetype, and that one is way better. This Hibiscus is really hard to use, and unless you're like Hibiscus waifu, probably don't bother. Sometimes it's even harder to get a 5-star than the actual 6-star. I've experienced it multiple times. If you want to see an experience, go back to my pulling Moistua video, then you will see. So that's about this for this video. Next video will most likely be the pulling video. I did want to do a video on SSS, but the thing is, the Chinese version of that game mode is completely different to what we're getting in global right now. The global version is really poorly designed, and then they will improve it. So I will make a video on that after the English version has that mode, and then I'll do like a clear and then show you guys how to do it like the most optimal way, in my opinion. And then that will be after the pull video, but I will try to get it done within a day or 2 after the release of the content, so you guys can, you know, learn some strategy from me and then perhaps use it in your own, and then get that done within this month, because the reward should be resetting on the 15th or the 16th of January. They shouldn't reset it this early. So take your time with it. If you want to do it, just learn it yourself. But if you don't want to learn it by yourself, you can just wait for my video. That's it, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.